Bomber TV.
Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and before we start, a huge thank you to all of my patrons. If you want to join them, please consider checking out the links down below in the description and the pinned comments down below. So yeah guys, we're back. In today's video we're going to be, discussing a bit what in my opinion are the most problematic cards in this meta. I actually recently did a meta analysis, probably weekly meta review, stuff like that. Please check that video out if you didn't see that, if it is currently up, because maybe I will upload it afterwards. But anyways, so yeah, how do we look at what cards are the most problematic? So you see here I have the filters. I'm only analyzing the cards' performance in Master, Diamond, and Platinum. This is the range currently where the ex-Masters, the previous Masters from the old season, or the current Masters and almost Masters into Diamond are. And so yeah, those are the most competitive players, the best players, probably. Elo is a representation of how skilled a player is. And so we actually are looking at the card's performance only at the peak of the performance. Because, probably, what if I went in all ranks? I'm curious to see that, stuff like Jack the Winner or Lunging Wizard start to appear. Probably that's because Pirate Aggro is very strong in lower categories, where people are not so skilled, people are not... can actually handle the aggro strategy, and so that's why you see those cards have quite a strong win rate. But then you change the sample size, the population, and you see that actually you start to see only Twisted Fate feeds cards, because that's the best deck at an high elo. So, Twisted Fate feeds, that's basically the problem right now. All of them, like all players are tired of it, they want to see some changes. What is my take on Twisted Fate and which cards are really problematic in this card? So you actually see that stress testing is actually the most win rate card in the game. So would you say that stress testing is the problem here? Not really. It is just that stress testing is so niche that probably only the Twisted Fate players are playing it. The same goes for feeds. Feeds and stress testing are only currently played in that deck only. The same goes for Straight Up, the same goes for Mind Meld. Those are all cards that are playing in that same deck, which is so strong. And then you start to see Poro Cannon, which is, it is true that it is run in Twisted Fate feeds decks, but it is also running discard aggro. And you see immediately that the win rate change is pretty consistent. So it's a very big jump, because you see that this card not only has more matches, because you see probably 40,000 players are playing Twisted Fate feeds, but then you see that Poro Cannon is actually 60,000. So this means that there is probably 25,000 of players which are playing discard aggro. The win rate is still very high because discard aggro is still a very consistent deck, so that's why you still see it very on top. And then again, also I'm kind of shocked about Wiggly Bubblefish, which is actually, I thought that it was only Twisted Fate feeds decks, but it is actually run then in some other kind of decks, and then that's why you see Wiggly Bubblefish go a bit down. So yeah, that was kind of curious of me, I didn't realize. But yeah, so now, how do you analyze these type of things? If you see that some cards are only in a certain deck, and that deck is very strong, then of course those cards jump on top. And actually, the more a card is specific in that deck, it is run only in those decks, the more it goes up, So you actually have to consider the problematic cards in those decks. So you see, if Poro Cannon, which is in discard aggro, and TF feeds is very on top, then what are the problematic cards in those two decks, in discard aggro and TF feeds? So let's actually talk about Twisted Fate feeds first. And in my opinion, the most problematic cards, let's see where they are. The most problematic cards in Twisted Fate feeds decks are Twisted Fate himself, and then Zasprayfin. Here it is. This is the biggest problem. So I will start first talking about Zasprayfin, because this definitely, I think I'm completely right about this. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, but now I will try to share my thoughts on Zasprayfin. So Zasprayfin has been a problem for so long right now. It was a problem in Pirate Aggro, because you could always reliably get your burn card, which was Noxian Fervor, and you simply played Zasprayfin to tutor the burn that you needed. Zasprayfin already could deal 2 damage, so basically Zasprayfin was a 4 mana, but then you refill 1 mana, so that's only 3, okay? Then you draw a 3 mana card, which is Noxian Fervor. For 6 mana, you dealt 5 damage from Zasrifin and Noxian Fervor. So that's basically another copy of Decimate on your deck, which also you did run in Pirate Aggro anyways. And that's not only that, because of course it is not only the burn potential, because you can play Zasrifin early on and you know, milk more damage from that. You could play that on turn 4, draw your Noxian Fervor, that you will use later on. So imagine if Zasrifin gets 1, 2, or 3 hits in all the game. That play went from 6 mana, deal 5, if only 1 attack, from 6 mana, deal 7, which is already pretty obnoxious. That's an atrocity, which you have to sacrifice a unit to do that, but, you know, it's definitely heavily counterable, the atrocity. It's very costly. You have to have a 7 attack unit on the board. No, that's just 6 mana of an investment that you could make early on and then deal 7 out of that mana, which is pretty crazy. Or, again, if you get 3 attack, that's 9, and that's completely broken, you know? So that was a problem right there in Pirate Aggro. Then it was a problem on Bilgewater, Stardust Islands, Gohard. That's probably one of the only reasons you wanted to go for Bilgewater, because there was Zasrifin that could tutor your spell. Which was, of course, Go Hard. And the only reason why you builded that deck in such a way that the only card that you wanted to draw from Zasrifin was Go Hard, and just Gleams Beyond, which were still pretty okay with that, because Gleams Beyond could actually draw you Go Hards again. So yeah, that was a problem right there, and it is still a problem right now in Twisted Fate Feeds. Twisted Fate Feeds, we see that actually, now I'm going to discuss the change that I want to make about this card. Twisted Fate Feeds doesn't really have a spell that you want to tutor, you know, it doesn't have a Go Hard, it doesn't have a Get Excited, sorry, an Noxian Fervor that you want to use to burn your opponent out. Actually, Twisted Fate Feeds only includes Zasrifin because it is a very, very great card. It is very, very efficient, it draws you a card. It only costs 3 mana basically because you get the Attune, and it is a 2/2 elusive, so you know, there's so many things going on, and it is so efficient at doing whatever it is doing. So yeah, you see that the problem there is not necessarily the fact that it tutors. It could tutor a card, and actually that's pretty interesting of a card to tutor specific cards. The problem about this card is just that it is too efficient, so I wouldn't change the tutoring mechanic, sorry, I have to. So a lot of you noted out that I say mechanics instead I should say mechanics. It's an old habit, I have to get rid of that. Anyways, having a tutor mechanic is very interesting, and attached to a body which, you know, it's very expensive. So for example, you had stuff like I can't remember the name, but probably that was Dark Ritual or something like that in MTG, where it was like 2 mana, draw a specific card from your deck. That's the quintessential, you know, tutoring effect, which was just a spell, very cheap, and that was a problem. But you know, having it on a body, which means that you have to pay more for the body itself. But if you are interested in only the tutoring part, which is also, you know, it's pretty restricted. It is not like draw a card from your deck whatever you want. You have to build your deck in such a way. You have to have a spell that you want to draw. So that's very interesting. I wouldn't change definitely that. What I will change about this card is that it is too efficient. That's why you see it everywhere. You know, it's 60,000 games, and it has a 55 almost win rate. That's pretty crazy, and it has been a problem so long in the past that this card simply has to change. What is my proposed change? Very simply, you could either remove the Attune, even though I wouldn't suggest that, because Attune could have some other synergies in the future, and I want to have synergies. The more a game has synergies, the better it is. So I wouldn't remove the Attune, but then increase its mana by 5. So it's basically as removing the Attune. You have to pay more mana to play this card, and actually changing the mana has some other implications, which means that this card can get into the board 1 turn later. Instead, you know, removing the Attune would make this card still be playable on turn 4, so that you can get everything faster, you can play your elusive unit faster, but you know, you are still spending 4 mana on paper, and then, you know, instead increasing the mana cost, you're still paying 4 mana, because you get the 1 mana discount from the Attune if you don't remove that, but then, you know, these cards comes later into the game. But I would go for the mana increase there, because again, Attune could have some more synergies in the future. And that's my whole argument about Zasrifin. I got a lot of bad comments about my proposed change from Zasprafing in the Runeterra guides videos. Back in the comments, I tried to answer that, but I wanted to make a video about that, which I would like to make into a weekly series. Let me know in the comments if you are interested in that. And so yeah, that's my reasoning on Zasprafing. Let me know what you think. Then we go back to Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate also has been a problem for so long. We saw that there was a Twisted Fate Gangplank deck back in the days. Right now we see that there is Twisted Fate Aphelios. There is Twisted Fate Feeds. So you start to see that Twisted Fate is very, very efficient as well. It's simply too strong. It is played in 70,000 games, almost. How many matches are there played? 4 millions, let's say like that. So 70,000, what is it, like 2%? 20? 2, probably 2% of the games. But you have so many champions, having a champion being into the 2% of the games and still be so strong, that's a significant thing. So let me check, it is actually the most, no, so you see that Shen is actually the most winning champion. Probably because, yeah, also Fiora Shen is another problem. Probably we will also talk about that. And so, yeah, but first, Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is actually very hard to balance, so I don't have a clear answer on this. All the numbers are very, very tricky to change. If you remove 1 health, for example, then this card simply gets removed from the game, basically, because then Vile Feast, Unspeakable Horror can target Twisted Fate, Withering Wail, which is very strong, Ice Shard. So yeah, this card would simply fall off of the meta and from the game. You would never see Twisted Fate played anywhere else if that change was to happen. So definitely not change the mana, the health. The same goes for mana. Having that turn 4 possible AoE, it's actually like a weaker Avalanche with a body. So it's very important to have that AoE potential on turn 4. Changing it to 5 means that then Twisted Fate becomes so much worse against aggro decks. So I wouldn't either change the mana cost, that's very important. It could be changed, the attack, because, Twisted Fate doesn't really have a reason to have 2 attack or, 3 attack, 1 attack. It wants to do something else. So yeah, you could definitely decrease the attack potential so that this would be a very soft nerf, because again, Twisted Fate doesn't really care about the attack potential, doesn't even change what cards could target him, because for example Calling Strike both can target it in his base form and his level up form, so yeah, it doesn't really change anything about Twisted Fate, but it's a very soft nerf, as I said, because Twisted Fate doesn't really care about attack. So you could make these and you will see that probably the win rate goes down a bit, because that 1 point of damage could translate into you winning less, because probably you are 1 off sometimes, but yeah, that's not a big deal. Then again, if you look at the Destiny cards, so let's actually look at them. If you look at the Destiny cards, no, how do you see them? Okay, so if you see the Destiny cards, also there is not much going on to change there. You could remove the refill 1 spell mana on the blue card. I think that change could definitely happen, because this is not even an attune. They could definitely have made this into an attune. So yeah, there is no synergy loss there, and yeah, just slightly make Twisted Fate worse a bit by changing a blue card like that. You can't really change though both the gold card and the red card. Probably the red card is nothing to change about that. You could remove the damage to the enemy Nexus, but I'm not a big fan of that, because it has some plunder synergies, so I wouldn't change that. The gold card, you could probably reduce the deal 2 into deal 1. That would be kind of too much similar to red card, but yeah, I could definitely see a deal 1 instead of deal 2. This has some implications, because if sometimes they have only a Twisted Fate on their side of the board, you can't ping 2 health units if this becomes a 1 damage. So yeah, that would be kind of a significant change, nonetheless. You could also not. How can I see the original version? You could also increase the level up condition, but I'm also not a big fan of increasing the level up condition, because already drawing 8+ cards is very, very difficult to do. You kind of have to build your deck only to level up Twisted Fate. So yeah, making it to 9 or 10 would basically make it impossible. And I like that this quest is already pretty difficult, but the payoff is so strong, you know? So yeah, I wouldn't make the quest impossible to achieve. I would rather tune down a bit the payoff, so that you can still get it. It is quite rare to get it, but when you get it, you still get a powerful thing, but not completely broken like it is right now. So again, probably changing the blue card to not refill 1 spell mana, and the gold card to only deal 2, to only deal 1. While also another soft nerf would be, you know, reducing its attack. Those I don't say that all those changes have to be done, but you know, those are some proposals that will tune down a bit the consistency and the strength of Twisted Fate, which is so strong. It is basically everywhere in the meta. So yeah, that's it for Zast Briefing and Twisted Fate. That's already. I talked a lot about those 2 cards, but yeah, those are basically the most, the strongest thing right now. So definitely add a lot to talk about them, and I could actually just end the video right now. Like that's the only problem right now. But then again, if we want to talk more, what is actually? Let me just check. What is actually so problematic right now? Something that could also change is Draven. Now that I think about it, because Draven is pretty much everywhere. You know, Draven has real, discard aggro. So yeah, you could definitely change Draven. It's a bit too consistent right now. It does so many things. It could either be in a control shell with the discard shell, you know, drawing cards, etc., or it's a very aggressive deck and also works very well in the discard. What I will do about Draven, if you make the health to 2, that's pretty rough, because we saw our failures went from like being one of the best champions into not being so strong, and the reason why to that is because the low health amounts, so you know, 1, 2, or 3, then if you go into 4, then that's fine. But 1, 2, and 3 are so important. 1 means that you are basically weak to anything, to any type of removal, even pings. 2 means that you are still weak to something like a Mystic Shot, which we saw that if Mystic Shot is a thing, if Piltover Zone is a thing in any meta, then like being in the range of Mystic Shot is so important. If you are in the range of Mystic Shot, this means that the champion is basically so much more removable than something else. And that's the only, if I'm right, that's the only 2 damage spell in the game. And it is still so important to have either 1 or 2, you know, or you know, 2 or 3. 2 means that you can die to Mystic Shot, 3 means that you cannot. And it is so important, just for that reason. And also, like, you know, you have the implication of, like, if you are into 2 health, you could die to something like a Withering Whale and a Veil Fist on the 2 health. So yeah, that's also something else. Instead, 3 health, and that's not a problem for 4 health or more. 3 health, you are in the range of all the removals, basically. You are in the range, I mean, the biggest ones, you know, Nox and Fervor, Get Excited, and now I can't think of anything else, probably Black Spear, that went actually to 4 damage, but yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, so now Draven is only weak to those, making it to 2 health would make it killable also by Mystic Shot, which would probably kill the card. So what I would change, it's a pretty tough call. Maybe I will go for remove the play effect of creating a Spinning Axe, so that actually you don't have the card immediately. Most of the times you can play Draven just because you have the Spinning Axe that you can then discard for stuff like Get Excited or Ramage. So if you actually have to strike with Draven first and then you can discard the stuff, this means that if your opponent removes the Draven before you can get the strike in, you don't get the Spinning Axe. So you don't have all the implications of, so that will definitely decrease the win rate of this card. I mean, the control strategies that want to use those Spinning Axes for something else, you know, to draw more cards. That will definitely decrease a lot that consistency, and I would be fine with that, because easy Draven, it's very game winning right now, so yeah, that's definitely fine. That will also decrease the win rate of discard aggro in itself, because actually the Spinning Axe in that deck has the opposite value. You want to discard other stuff, like a Champ, not a Champ Womp, what is the name? The Flame Chompers, or a Jury Rig, or a Vision, or a Survival Skills. And actually the Spinning Axe is the best discard tool in those decks. So yeah, removing the play to get a Spinning Axe means that you have to first get the strike in. So this means that Draven can be removed first, or that you have to you can use those cards only after you have attacked for the first time with Draven. So you know, most of the times you can play Draven, then you attack, and you already have the Spinning Axe on hand. So this means that you can Spinning Axe your Vision, so that Draven still gets the +1 attack and also all the rest of your board for 0 mana. That's very strong. Instead, if you remove the play and only the strike remains, you have to first attack, then you get the Spinning Axe. So you need to discard your other cards with something else. And that in my opinion, is much more interesting. It definitely decreases the win rate of the card, but it has so much more interaction between you and your opponent. You actually can decide if Draven generates your opponent the Spinning Axe or if it doesn't. You can remove it before it happens. You can make it not strike. For example, you charm block it and you glimpse beyond. So, you know, you can actually control if they get the Spinning Axe or not. Instead, right now, they always get the Spinning Axe, and they can use it for whatever they want, to discard very cheaply, as I said, or to use it as a discard target for something else like a Ramage or a Get Excited. So yeah, that's probably my take on Draven as well. And guys, really, I think that's it. Fiora Shen is also a problem right now, but I really don't know what I would change on the top of my mind. So yeah, probably I would leave that. First of all, I would like to see those 3 changes in the game. I think those are the most important ones right now. Discard aggro has been in the top tier for so long. The same goes for Slow Burn, Easy Draven, again Draven. So, and yeah, Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate has been a problem for so long. The same goes for Twisted Fate Fizz right now specifically. So yeah, I would change Zaspravin, which has been a problem for so long, and Twisted Fate, which has been so strong for so long. And so yeah, guys, I think that's it for this video. If you like this type of videos and I would like to make them into a weekly series, let me know in the comments, or you know, reach me out on my Discord server. I try to answer to everyone, and I think I'm pretty good at that. So yeah, I'm very, you know, I think that I handle community pretty well. Let me know in the comments if you think that's true. And so yeah, I think that's it for this video, guys. So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, a comment, and checking out the links in the description and the pinned comment. In there you'll find my Instagram, my Twitter, my Patreon, my Discord server, where you can continue to chat with me and all the rest of the community. So that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and find it useful, and as always, see ya.